Go. Evening, folks. This is the November, Wednesday, the 8th general meeting of the St. Louis Unix Users Group. We have Stan doing the tutorial, and I've lost the webpage, so I don't remember the title. Stan, what's your topic?
I don't remember either. What did I have for breakfast? Script recording. So if I can remember how to turn on sharing my screen, I'll go. Give me a second here. I need to go. I was babbling about other things and I forgot to get ready. So that's just the way I am. Let me turn on this, that, the other script recording. And that slide sorter. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. I lost the button. Where'd the button go?
Button. Who got the button?
Yeah. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Stan.
Yeah. Now that's no good. That's not what I need. Oh. There it is. Share screen. Okay. Well, it's supposed to be there, but it's not. So I'm going to share this thing. I do the whole thing, and then I'm going to jump over here. All right. Excellent.
Looks like it worked.
Yeah. This is 8 November. How about that? Script recording. I made some slides here to talk about this thing. Introducing myself, I'm Stan Reichardt. I'm also the vice president of the SLUG. Whoops. This is the wrong show. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. Script recording. It says up in the recording there. I got the wrong slide here. Well, part of it, but I'm a benevolent dictator of life of the new Linux organization also. I'm cranky and arbitrary, profane, politically incorrect, old, you name it. It's all. I'm a Linux, almost a bigot there, and I wear belt and suspenders. So, who uses scripts? It's commonly used scripting technique used by people is they take their history in Unix, Linux, and they dump it out, and they can feed that into a file, and by managing it, they can make a little sort of program that runs. It's in your hidden history file. It's what's frequently extracted. So if you're interested, if you don't know anything about that, you should look at the man page for history, either man or info or pinfo. And using script and affiliated commands are not well known. I've known about it for a long time. And so if you don't know about it, you don't use it. But as far as I know, it's on Unix and Linux, and I don't know about other operating systems, although I guess that Windows thing, Windows subsystem for Linux, I guess that's got it in there too, because it seems to be a pretty much of a Unix utility. Now, there's 3 related commands that you're interested in. If you just were to do an apropos and look for script, it would dump out 121 file names. But the one that is relative are these 3 right here. And the one called script is for creating the script. And then the script replay is the one that I've been able to figure out, because I think they've changed it since I've used it years ago, and I wasn't paying that much attention to it. But this script live thing, I've read, it says rerun the session type scripts using timing information. I think what that means is that it allows you to rerun the actual commands and time them just like when you originally did your capture of the script thing. The purpose is essentially to document what you do. And as far as building executable scripts using that, well, I think it keeps a visible, provides you with a visible history. I haven't been digging back into it long enough to remember whether or not, or even figure out if you can take that file that it creates and export that into a file and then make a executable script program out of it. Why use it? Well, it captures what you type, and it captures the results. So if you type PS, it gives you the result of PS. You type ID, it gives you the result of that command. And it can be played back in real time. You can set the timing on it so it keeps time with what you did. Otherwise, it just kind of bang, 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 and it goes real fast. So, and also it can prove what you did. You know, if they, you know, I've remember reading that some teachers had their students run script to show that they did their homework. You know, that they actually went in and did whatever, and they have them send their script files back to him. But that's something I read in the past, and it can be used where there's no graphical environment or GUI. It kind of works with some of the ncurses stuff. So I in my demos I'll show you some of the things that it does work with, and it works across a simple SSH connection. That's really good, and we're on servers because it's in the utilities, Unix utilities. When to use it? Well, you definitely, first thing you want to know is you do not use it when you're going to be using graphical user interface tools. Some of the things that you think of as graphical tools will work. That's what they call ncurses. I'm not sure about defining that for somebody that's not how to define that for somebody that's not familiar with ncurses. It's if you've been around forever, like myself and Wheel over here in the corner, and the guy over there that's on the other side of the room named Fire, we've been around a while, and I'm older than this guy named Dirt over here that's standing up looking at me real with cross eyes. But the if you've been around a while, you'll kind of know about the ncurses stuff. They're graphical things that allow you to navigate within the screen, like VI does. You know, although I'm not real sure how well VI or Vim works with it. There's I tried some later today that had some problems that I wasn't aware of, but maybe that's just in unique elements of the VI Vim. You should severely limit yourself to just trying to do command line stuff. And when you want to do something more, use something like the simple screen recorder, where it completely captures your screen graphically, and you make a video of it. And if you're interested in that, I think it was in October. I think it was. Let's see my notes here. Yeah, 2020 October. I did a presentation on using simple screen recorder. And so, but when to use scripts? When you want to do more than just what's in your history file. Your history file just gives you the list of the commands you ran, but with script, it gives you the results that you got when you ran that command. So on a server, okay, I've got some excess noise here. Somebody needs to be muted. On a server, you're not going to want to load the graphical tool, so you're not going to have simple screen recorder over there, although you would have it on your PC workstation. When you need something quickly, it usually already installed, and it's safely used within terminals run within GUI sessions. So if you're running a GUI like I am, running Linux Mint, it's one of the applications that pops up as a terminal, and in the terminal you can have multiple tabs of terminals, and that works great within those. And it's, like I said, it's available as part of the util Linux package, and it's in the Linux kernel archive, but it's not always automatically installed. I read that somewhere, but my experience, it's always been there, usually available. But then I didn't always want to use it, so there may have been situations where it wasn't there and I didn't realize it. No big deal. The GUI alternatives, in the past, I used proprietary packages on Microsoft Windows XP. So long ago, I don't even remember its name nor care. I think it was something like Snagit. That might have been the name of it. But that was like $50, and and I was always really cheap, never wanted to buy anything, and lived without it. My full screen capture choice is the simple screen recorder. I mean, there's a link to the guy that does it. It's up on GitHub and so forth. Joe Collins, the EasyLinux.com guy, recommends and uses that package for creating his videos, and that's where I found out about it, by watching his videos. And it's free, Linux only, as far as I know, and it's used with X Windows systems. But I'm not sure what's going to happen when Wayland comes along, whether or not that's going to be a real problem with it. So we'll find out as we go along. And as far as other alternatives, if you look up script, and there's like 114 alternatives listed on the alternative2.net file website. Now, how to get started? Well, I recommend you read the friendly manual, both the man pages and as always, if there's any info pages.
That's the way I remember that acronym.
It's the friendly manual. Yes, read the friendly manual. Some of the people that suggest you do that are not that friendly, but what the heck? And I don't. You can do info and it'll take you to the man page. So I use pinfo because it links between alternative references. So like I said earlier, I did the apropos on script and it got 121 results. And and I went through and looked at all of those, or at least the names and the descriptions of them, and got down to a thing called script. And each one of them are, in their definition, talks about a thing called TypeScript. So in the man page, it refers to TypeScript. So so that's what you're actually creating. And this is the example from the script replay man page. And it's right here. It shows example. This example, it shows a %. That's the prompt for this session. It said this command is script and a --log -time, and it's a file name, and then a --logout is the actual script, the output script. So when you run that line, it'll come back and respond with the script is started, file is script out, because that's what you told it. You told it also to create a timing file. In this case, it was file.tm. And then it shows the prompts of everything you do, ls, date, etc., etc. When you're done, you type exit, and the script will respond with script is done, file is script out. Then to replay it, you say the command is script replay --log -timing, and then that timing file name, whatever you named it, file.tm, or you can call it billybob.texas if you wanted to, or just Billy Bob or Mary Jane, whatever you want to call it. And then the --logout, and that the script.out file, whatever you had named that file, and it'll replay it. Now, next slide. The example from Script Live, it didn't look right to me. And I did some testing with it, and I do not understand the results exactly. It didn't look right. I've got one example I'll show in the demos later, and it's a little bit screwy. It looked to me like they have a typo in their example, whereas the first line, well, I actually do the same kind of thing with they do the same kind of thing, but they completely copied it, and on their replay, they say script live --log -time file.m, the timing file, the same as they created it, but then they give it a different name for the log file. They say log -in script.in. I kind of read the man page, and it kind of talks about it's going to replay live is gonna, I got the idea is trying to redo exact, it's gonna have what you captured in there actually recreate what you did. Kind of. That seems kind of strange to me. Maybe this kind of a semi executable script that you're creating. I don't know. But now this next two slides here, slide 13 and 14, it's how to capture. And I thought, well, these are the things you're going to have to talk about. How to get started, example, and build your own scripts, and how to save and exit, and how to abort if you screw up, and how to fix it, and what to write, how to write the code with script. I'm going to leave that all as an exercise for the people watching this video, because I think just by going to the demo that I've got, that maybe you'll understand something, and how to do the playback. So these are extraneous files. I probably should have just thrown them away, but I thought I'd tell you that I was thinking about doing much more and making a much longer presentation, but this is going to be long enough. So we're going to go right into the demonstration examples, okay? And after that, we're going to go to the questions, okay? So let's jump out of here. And let's see, get out of here. I'm going to go to my command line. Now, just because I brought up, for those that are looking at what's going on here, I've got some subshells. I'm going to show the man page for script. There's a separate man page for script. There's a separate man page for script replay. That's where I got the first set of examples, and a man page. Whoops, wrong button. Script live. What is it? Script. Did I spell it wrong? There it is. Okay, just want to show you there's 3 separate man pages, but whatever. You should go read the friendly man pages. Okay. And maybe somebody can give me a better explanation of what that script live thing is. But I'm going to go ahead and go to the demos I've got set up here. I've got a bunch of them set up. I've got most of them set up in the demo 1 directory here. Got a few of them. And if really the shortcut for starting a script is instead of that long title there, the dash capital T is for your timing file, and you give it whatever name you want. Whatever. Dot timer. And then a dash O for your whatever out, whatever. Now, if I run that, whoops, if I spell script proper, Phil's not here, is he? You're supposed to correct me when I make these mistakes, Phil. Okay. Okay, that started it right there. Okay. And if you go do some entries, I'm going to do a date here. And just to show you what all you can do, we would do stuff like ID or PS, PWD, ls-l, the typical kind of commands. And typical kind of commands. And
Yeah, go ahead.
Stan, I know you're just typing demo stuff, but or example stuff in there. But can you make the font larger?
Why don't you buy some good glasses, Gary?
Yeah.
Control Shift. That big enough for you?
Better, thank you.
Much better.
All right. Whatever. And then you get, see, you're getting the responses back and all along here. You can even do something like, you know, some of this bigger stuff. Boom. Look at all that. Whoa. Is that going to be captured? That almost looks like the end cursor stuff. Whatever. I don't know. Anyway. And then I'm going to say date and do a little echo. Done with. And then exit. Boom. Okay. If I list what I've got there, it created two files there. It created that whatever.out and the whatever.timer file. Okay. Now, in order to replay that, I'm going to do this script replay -T, capital T for timer. Give it the name of the whatever.timer file. And then a dash capital O for the output is going to be the whatever.out file right there. Now, if I run this, I'm taking fingers off the keyboard now, folks. Okay. La da 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 da. Ooh, who's typing that? Somebody typed date. And there's the date. And that's not the time now. That was 2 minutes ago when it started. And there's the ID that came up. I typed PS, PWD. Typo, whatever. What else did I do? Did that kill it? No, I guess not.
Hey, Stan,
Sir,
the date command that it replayed, did it also show again the old output, or did it rerun the date command and give you fresh current output?
this is the old stuff. This is the old stuff. Okay.
Okay, now why would, I'm curious.
I think the script live is the one that's supposed to rerun the program and give you the current stuff. I think that's the way that's the way I read the thing. So boom. Okay. But when I did it, I might have screwed something up, and it looked like it was broken or something to me. So I didn't. The command lines didn't, or the spacings didn't work right, and whatever. So I concentrated on the script replay. I got that to work. Okay, works for the demos. So I want to say now I got a whole bunch more of these demos right here. But we're coming up on 7 o'clock, so this is a short base. You don't read anything else. So at this time right now, we can go back, and there any more questions I can try to answer. Any more questions? I guess not. Okay. I'll at this point, we'll talk about this is the GUI middle part, the sequence of events for the St. Louis Unix users group normal meetings. Okay.
Yeah.
It's about us. Anybody doesn't know, we meet on the second Wednesday of each month. We're an IRS 501c6 designated non-for-profit professional association dedicated to education and communications for computer users, guys. Okay. You get students, hobbyists, retirees, network experts, professionals, people that do BSD, Linux, Windows, free open source soft stuff, other projects, products and services. You know, we've met since about what, July of 1992. That's what I think. What I've been told. Is that right, Gary?
Yep, seems to be.
All our meetings free and open to the public. There's no individual membership fees, and that's because we're here at the GUI middle.
Go
Right.
back just one slide. Go back to the slide you were just on.
Yeah.
If
I'm sorry, I skipped it.
If anyone's curious, the 501c6, the business association, that does mean that yes, you can make contributions. They're not charitable contributions, but they are business deductions. So any of you who are representing a company or own a company or do some business on the side, contribution to SLUG is a legitimate business deduction. So.
Oh, by the way, Gary, you're supposed to say who you are. You're supposed to say, Gary, I'm Gary. Introduce yourself.
I'm Gary.
A one-liner. Say, Gary, what do you do?
I am a computer consultant. I used to work for St. Louis University. I used to work for Edward Jones. I used to work for Wilson.
No. Keep it short. You're the president. Okay, keep it short. Don't run for election here. Okay.
Okay.
He doesn't need to run for election.
Yeah, that's true. I put him on the ballot and everybody votes for him because nobody else wants it. He's dying to be impeached. He really is. Anyway, the agenda for our meetings is that we meet Central Daylight Time. From 6 to 6:30 is arrival time. Test your chat, microphone, sound, screen sharing, and all that. Then we start with the base topic with the questions. So nobody had any questions, so we're in the GUI middle here. Introductions. Well, Lee, when you talk, introduce yourself. Say, Lee, I'm, blah, 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 blah. Make it short, kind of a 1 or 2 liner. Make it shorter than what Gary did.
Hey, my name is Lee. I live in the back cave.
There you go. Hey, and what is, you don't need to say anything more. That's all the magic right there. And then about 7:15 or so, well, we're going to try and do a call for help and then talk about some of the other stuff and then go on to the main topic. After the meetings, further discussions is possible also on our mailing list, and the recording, we're being recorded now. So that chat and the slide work and all the video stuff will be up on our archive in a couple of days. So where are we? Base topic, agenda here, introductions. And Lee's also the treasurer. How about that? We have a vacancy for secretary. Anybody volunteer? I don't hear anything. Any announcements? Well, daylight savings time ended on Sunday. So, and next 8 days from now, next week, Thursday, the St. Louis Linux meeting. 5 days after that will be the new Linux meeting, the 4th Tuesday of the month. Are there any other announcements?
I've got a few.
Go ahead.
Let's see. Last summer, Google announced that inactive Google accounts were going to be deleted. So their target date to begin deleting them is the 1st of December. It's my understanding, but don't take me as gospel, that what they consider to be inactive is if you haven't been on the account or done something with it in 2 years, it's going to be considered an inactive account. So you have roughly 3 weeks, either get your account active or store it or whatever. And I point this out because I know a lot of people, both because of business or family or friends, people had an Android phone and it would be shoving photographs out there, and people, just always figured, oh yeah, someday I'll go back and get those photos. So I know a lot of people who inadvertently archived a bunch of photos out there, and some people just figure it'll always be there. December the 1st, it may start disappearing. Different announcement. In honor of our speaker this evening, doing the Windows subsystem for Android, this Sunday, 3 days ago, was the 16th anniversary of Android being released. So happy birthday to Android. It can now drive itself, I guess. Let's see. Coming up in the future, in 2.5 weeks, is the Amazon AWS reInvent conference. It is physically being held in Las Vegas. So you have just over 2 weeks if you're going to try and actually physically go. I haven't checked to see if you can go remotely via Zoom or something like that. So I did put it on the calendar. It's November the 27th to December the 1st. It's a 5-day conference. And so check it if AWS reInvent interests you. And I've heard it's a good conference. So, and lastly but not leastly, November the 15th every year is GIS Day, Geospatial Information Systems Day. In the days before the pandemic, it was common practice for WashU or what's the name of that company that does mapping systems up in St. Charles?
Surdex?
Surdex? Could be. Anyway, usually there would be some sort of all-day conference somewhere in St. Louis that had a whole bunch of interesting talks, either about how GPS systems work or just all sorts of good technical information. I haven't yet checked to see if anything is going on this year on November the 15th, but look around. And if you see anything that looks interesting, send a note to editor@slug.org and we'll try and put it on the calendar. And that's all the announcements I have. Oh, another announcement for December the 1st. This just coming in from Ron. Stand by, I have to read it.
Are you looking for your glasses, Gary?
I'm pounding on the keyboard, which is taking its. I'm doing the classic stupidity. I double click on the thing, and so it proceeds to bring it up and then immediately drop it. So, and Ron posted this to everyone. So, all routers made in China. So all routers must be configured to support and default to IPv6. This might help boost global IP6 deployment. That's for their internal usage. They want 700 million IPv6 users real soon now. So that's a December 1st announcement.
Yeah, that's just for anybody who is interested in or cares at all about IPv6 deployment. We've been told it's just around the corner now for a heck of a long time. Back in March or April, Chinese authorities apparently looked around and thought we're lagging behind in IPv6, and I imagine that they could consume all IPv4 space if they and some if IPv6 didn't exist. So back in around April, they said, that's it. We are going to mandate that this be the default on all products sold as of December the 1st. And here we are, 6, 7, 8 months later, and it is about to become reality. So it may help increase IPv6 deployments worldwide. I don't know. I'm kind of curious on if anybody here has got IPv6 or uses it.
I have put some stuff on IPv6, and so yeah, it's been dependable. I didn't look to see if Dave Forrest is already in attendance tonight, but Dave Forrest has both done a number of presentations on IPv6.
Dave's not here.
He's not here. Sorry.
Yeah, he actually had a customer that wanted to use his services in China. So he was forced to set up V6 just so they could see his website.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
They talked about this on the most recent episode of 2.5 Admins podcast, which is one that I listen to fairly regularly. And they were speculating whether or not like the Chinese manufacturers would change the default for the SKUs that were being sold outside of China. Because, theoretically they're having to, change the defaults anyway to have like the language be not Chinese. And so since they're already, putting different firmware on the models that are leaving China or being sold outside of China, maybe they would just change the default to still be IPv4 for all those markets. Because I imagine, on 2.5 admins, what they were saying is a lot of the ISPs, at least the commercial ones here or the residential ones here in the US, don't necessarily support IPv6 internally. Like you can't, like if you have an IPv6 router, it won't just talk IPv6 to your modem. So at least that's how mine is. Mine's set up for IPv4 DHCP, so I can't use it on that link. But anyway, just some extra context around that. I thought it was interesting too.
As I believe, Charter or Spectrum, they are IPv4 only. Though I haven't looked into that very much, but it kind of seems that way because that's all I ever get from them.
Yep, same here.
So,
So what?
with IPv6, sure.
Who's ever trying to talk is really garbled.
Just
It's Tyler.
Tyler, you're breaking up pretty bad. We barely hear one word out of 5.
I think Tyler's on IPv3. He needs to upgrade.
Yeah.
Tyler, we're basically
Is-
getting syllables from you at this point.
Is this go right into our call for help session?
I suppose it does. I think
Not
we've
much
covered
we
all
can
enough.
do. That's
Unfortunately, it sounds like this call for help might require a physical assistance.
reboot. Yeah. We're not getting anything.
Any other call for help? I don't mean to cut Tyler off, but until we get there's a few syllables again. Okay, Tyler, if we ever understand you, we'll let you cut in. If there's something you want to alert us to right away, put it in chat maybe, and that way we'll know what you got. So, anybody else have a call for help question? And by the way, there will be time probably after our main speaker this evening to pursue more call for help. But if you want to kind of catch the early crowd, there may be somebody here who knows what you need.
Just to point out, we have the presentation archives. There's links on all of our pages. That's it. You can say www.slug.org resources presentations, and it'll take you to that. We also have a calendar, and our sponsored events are highlighted in red. I'm not sure I can bring it up right now. I'm kind of whatever. And we also have mailing lists. I'd like to point out we also have, our mailing list, our announcement mailing list, and a discuss for general discussions and opinions, questions, and so forth. People that want to help, steering committee mailing list. Every opinion counts. We'd like to have some more people show up at the steering committee meetings. Instead of just talking to ourselves, we'd like to talk to people that attend our meetings and get some input. Our other special interest groups, like I said, next week, St. Louis Linux Users Group at Linux Presentations. The first Thursday of the month is Slack meeting. It's a configuration workshop. It's agnostic as far as hardware and software. If we get anybody that knows what they're talking about, beyond me or Phil, would be appreciated, because we're kind of running thin on people that know about the hardware and the software. But we have people show up that need help. And then, of course, next Tuesday, the fourth Tuesday of the month, I run the beginner workshop for Linux users, new Linux users group. And then we're going to go into our main topic coming up here. And I'd like to point out, we'd appreciate if the presenter sent any notes and PDFs and scripts and slide work to editor@slug.org for our archives, besides the recording that we do. The presenter may at the beginning ask the audience to hold their questions to the end, or he may say, just interrupt him as he goes along. It's up to him. Afterwards, after that, the general discussions of other topics can happen, as Gary mentioned earlier. Any feedback, questions about this?
I have another announcement.
Go ahead, Ed.
This week, or excuse me, in a little under 2 weeks, on November 21st, is the semi-bug, the Southeastern Michigan BSD Users Group meeting, and that's a Jitsi meeting, and the topic is going to be on new shell, and given the new shell presentation before on the St. Louis Linux a couple months ago, I think, and this is going to be a slightly different one. It's going to be more hands-on. So just thought I'd mention it.
You know, every time I hear about the Southeast Michigan BSD user group, I always wonder, like, is there like a Southwest Michigan BSD Unix group and you had to like differentiate the two, or seems real specific.
I don't understand the history of all that. Maybe if Jonathan was around, maybe he's the moderator of Jonathan Drews is the moderator, and he only just recently took over. So I don't know. I mean, as far as I know, there's very few BSD users group. There's a couple in Canada, and some other ones around. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, semi-bug is the acronym, as Ron pointed out, or whatever, right? So I've only really been involved with them for about, I don't know, a year or so.
This is Stan. I'm quickly showing the calendar that they used to be predominantly face-to-face meetings in St. Louis, and we used to have, before the pandemic lockdown, we would have anywhere between 120 and 170 face-to-face meetings of some kind of technology or language or computer stuff here in St. Louis. Beer and pizza were abound. Also, notice that the red colored things are the sponsored groups. I'm not sure that I can, let me see if I can do this. Yeah, okay, up here at the top corner where it says agenda, little triangle there, if you click on that, you can turn off all the other stuff and just see this slug stuff, all the red stuff. Yay!
Might want to bump the font a couple times, Stan.
Gee, miss, if you want to see the calendar, go look at that on calendar. Good grief, damn it!
There you go. There you go. Perfect.
You mean you're doing a teaser?
Jesus, a tease.
I don't know. Geez. Anyway, and so that, where'd it go? That stopped working on me. Anyway, these are mostly the St. Louis local events, and these are the remote and online events. It's kind of a mixture of things, whatever. But anyway, that's our calendar. And I'm gonna stop sharing my calendar. And Gary, you need to deal with what's coming up.
Okie doke. All right. For those of you who may have been here back in September, we had John Newbolt from Microsoft did a wonderful presentation on Windows Subsystem for Linux. The more recent information was about version 2. And so he told us about what makes it different. And no, it's not there's still purposes you might want to use version 1. And there was also part of the talk was about Windows for Linux GitHub. So a lot of good information in that talk. Really appreciated it. And there's the slides and the recordings of the talk are out on our archive. So if any of you missed it or wanted to refresh yourself about it, go look on the archives and you can find it. But we again have him this evening. And tonight he's going to talk to us about Windows Subsystem for Android and tell us all about that. I'm going to ask John 2 questions. If anybody has any follow-up questions from the Windows for Linux talk back in September, I'm going to guess it'd probably be more appropriate to ask those specific questions at the end of your talk this evening, John. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, I think I can field them probably at any time.
Okay.
I'm flexible.
And the other thing, and I think you may have in point to answer that, is do you prefer the questions to wait till the end, or do you just prefer people to say, "Hey, John, I got a question"?
Let's have the questions just as they come. Let's have it be a bit of a conversation. I think that's a bit more comfortable and less formal because this is after hours for everyone, hopefully.
Fantastic. And as I said, John is a Microsoft employee, so he be the man who knows all about these good things. And just out of curiosity, where are you physically located, John? You here in St. Louis?
Yes, sir. I am in St. Louis. I met a couple of you guys down at the at my office at the technology center. I don't remember exactly whom that was, but you guys are welcome anytime. Come and shake hands, and I'll give you a tour. But yeah, as mentioned earlier, name's John Newbolt. I've been with Microsoft, I don't know, a year and a half or so now. My background is in FinTech, FinServe. I've been in site reliability engineering, platform engineering, really kind of been playing around as a technologist since I was very young. I'm old now, so it's been I've seen a lot. Super excited about this particular topic today, Windows Subsystem for Android. So if there's not any questions on the Subsystem for Linux portion of it, I'll get started, but I'll pause for a minute just if anyone has anything. Cool. Okay, I just made some slides here with Copilot just for fun. Just kind of give a little bit of a walkthrough before I do some of the show and tell. So if you've not heard of Windows Subsystem for Android, here's a kind of a little synopsis of it. It's an emulation layer. It leverages hypervisor technology on your operating system. So if you are, if your hardware lacks virtualization, you're gonna have a tough time. And so what it does is just kind of it emulates an ARM architecture, leveraging a kind of custom Linux container that runs. It integrates because the nature of it has deep integration with the operating system, uh, networking, file systems, things like that. Usually, for the most part, feel seamless and can browse them with fairly native tools, that being like Windows Explorer or using the kind of native Android file explorer, which I'll kind of show here in a minute. It does, because of the fact that it is virtualized, you are able to run, simply if you're familiar with Android or Java development, think the new App X packages. You're able to leverage kind of newer Android X build architectures that have both ARM and x64 bytecode bundled into them. It's really pretty slick in that, because of the deep level of integration, you are able to benefit from things like having a single antivirus utility. So in this, case on my machine, Windows Defender is, when the kernel call is made to, read and write through the file system, Defender is able to kind of step in and scan those things in real time for me. So being able to set things like exclusions in Defender, or have kind of if you're familiar with dev drives, the ability to have a kind of truncated feature set for Defender in the sake of speed and efficacy. Pretty neat technology, something you're not really gonna see deeply integrated into other offerings like BlueStacks or Knox. If you've seen any kind of other Android emulation packages, things that are a bit more for the end user rather than Google's Android Development Studio. If you've used Android Development Studio, it is, I mean, if you're an Android developer, you're likely using it unless you use some, independent software vendors, Java or Kotlin or whatever language development studio you're using. It's very neat. You can conflate any number of Android emulators and run them in kind of a windowed environment and run applications on them and connect using the ADB or Android debug bridge and manipulate, grab, stack, related information, do kind of deep hardware debugging like one might do on something like a mobile platform. You can do those things with both Google's offering and Windows Subsystem for Android. Pretty neat. And Windows Subsystem for Android has a little bit of deeper integration because of just the nature of how it works. You can actually run testing software, think like Selenium, to perform some kind of unit testing or end user experience testing. In a programmatic manner rather than having to do it manually. So just kind of some of the neat features in Windows Subsystem for Android. The similar to Windows Subsystem for Linux, there is kind of a translation layer in the middle. In the case of Windows Subsystem for Android, it's called Angle, and it handles translating the different API calls for the window management and graphics hardware. So kind of being it essentially supports or enables your Windows Subsystem for Android applications to have hardware acceleration. So kind of better than software, better than CPU bound graphics rendering. You get direct access to system and network, as I mentioned earlier. So being able to in my Android application, my Android operating system, it sees a stable network connection that's physical. You can emulate wireless, emulate GPS, things like that. So if you think playing Pokemon Go and being able to manipulate where your character is, in that case of that game, an augmented reality game, your person and your ability to capture and take bases or whatnot in the game, you could just do it all digitally initially before they added any sort of checking for that.
Hey, John,
Sure.
when you said this allows better graphic processing, so if I am using it for development work, how do I guard against being too sloppy? In other words, do I really want to have superior graphic performance if I'm putting together something that's supposed to run on an Android phone?
Yeah, you have the ability to instrument the guest operating system, and you can dynamically allocate resources to it. So it's similar to other virtualization platforms, to use the paradigm of, say, like full on PC virtualization, one vCPU, 2 gigs of RAM, that sort of paradigm, directly analogous within Windows Subsystem for Android. I'll just kind of flip over a little bit to some of the settings. So being able to specify which GPU I'm using inside of the virtual machine, being able to specify how much in terms of physical resources it has. This is how you would constrain the emulation engine to meet, I believe what you're asking is, how do I mimic real world settings and not, my 4090 and my i7, which would not be real
Yep.
life in someone's pocket.
That's what I was basically asking. And while you're
Yeah.
there, can you kick up the font size on that just a little bit?
Yeah, it's so funny. I did change my display settings up to like 225, but I have a 4K display, as you can see. So it's large. Hopefully that's visible, because I don't know if I can get too much larger without
Yeah.
while still being able to use it.
Um,
Yeah, so okay, I'll just go ahead and dive into some of the show and tell, because the slide, no one really wants PowerPoints. I'll just kind of skim through them. 50,000 some Android applications are supported at this point. You can grab it from the Windows Store. So if you're looking to grab it and play along, you would just come in and search for the Amazon App Store, I think would be what you would search for. If you I'm sure you can imagine what sort of political things would, cause two organizations to not support each other. But for some reason, the partnership is with the Amazon App Store. It is possible to sideload other app stores, as you can see. But if you're looking for the kind of official from Microsoft way path to install this in an easy manner, open a Microsoft Store, grab this. If you do a little bit of web searching, you can also find GitHub repos that allow you to download a full bundle of Windows Subsystem for Android, and includes additional things like super user access and additional app stores, as you can see. Um, while I have the File Explorer up, kind of as I mentioned earlier, those deep resource level integrations, if you notice, these are image files. I believe they are, just looking to see what the file system type is. I don't even know if, oh, here we go. VHDXs. So you can mount them using any typical hypervisor. You can mount them in Hyper-V. You can mount them in VirtualBox, whatever. I can, as you can see, I can mount them directly in Windows Explorer. These, if you are familiar with Android file system, these are the file systems that are part of your, slash, basically your root tree from root forward. On the Android file system, they are separate partitions. Some are non-volatile, some are volatile. In this case, in the emulation, they're all just VHDXs that can be manipulated. So if you're looking to, say, perform backup or something like that, it's as easy as just making a copy or backing these files up. Now, if you wanted to do something in the actual file system itself, you would just use traditional Android debugging tools. ADB, or the Android debug bridge, allows you to connect to and drive and view, think like console port or serial port level logging, if you so desire, being able to observe the CPU during boot up and things like that over ADB. So yeah, file system structure file system tree here. This is the aforementioned release that I kind of alluded to earlier. If you do a little bit of searching, so this I have full super user or root access into this, which is useful. There's no bloatware or kind of dial home style ware that's added into it like some of the other emulator options. If you're familiar with Android kind of look and feel, this probably looks familiar to you. I'm not using a touchscreen, but this would be, no, it has normal kind of ARIA touch interface look and feel to it. This is the size of the VHD that you can see here. So it's thin provisioned in that it's not actually 127 gigs, nor is it 256 gigs in size. But it's kind of a traditional Android file system and structure. And as I mentioned earlier, you can see that the device thinks that it's on Wi-Fi. It has, if I were to kind of dig around in it, it has a loopback interface. It has, I should have installed a terminal emulator in here. It's running Android 13, I think, so not exactly bleeding edge, but still up there in the API version. So if you are an Android developer, it's reasonably modern. If you need super bleeding edge, you're probably obviously using Android's or Google's kind of Dev Studio for it, or something along those lines. So a neat option for something that comes first party. Uh, I'll pause there for a second before I kind of just do a little bit more show and tell. Are there any questions or thoughts so far? Anything we want to see?
You had mentioned developers a number of times.
Mhm.
I'm just curious. I mean, obviously, as a developer, an Android developer or Android app developer, I can see great uses for it.
Mhm.
Any feeling of are there non-developers who are finding this a useful tool, and what might that be?
Yeah, so imagine you are I can think of an example that might be close to home. I like to play, an Android game on my phone, and maybe I want to play it also while I'm sitting at my computer, but on a much larger, nicer display, and with keyboard and mouse input, might be more comfortable and preferable to touch. I can do that because now I can run that application and emulate it on my desktop, and uh, to the folks that are running the game or whatever application that I'm playing, it appears as if I'm on a Pixel 5 with the particulars that they're looking for. So my way that I want to interact with it is comfortable to me, and it's still secure. And if you have used other kind of emulator options that are more commercial or end user, they are come from a potentially dubious source and are riddled with additions that one would consider kind of bloatware. Uh, so this is a cleaner first party option for that. And then being able to leverage app stores and keeps it handy. And there are Android applications that are available on the Windows Store for like these quality offerings. Some of them may be Android and would run in the Windows subsystem for Android. So opening up an additional kind of avenue or source for content on your desktop as well.
You.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. I think it's really neat, and I feel like the level of access. I mean, so imagine imagine I'm a developer and I have a maybe doing some sort of a load testing, or I have IoT devices that run on ARM and run Android for low cost. Maybe I'm instrumenting moving devices or drones or something along those lines. I could simulate or emulate multiple drones workloads via Windows subsystem for Android, and it just is like a hypothetical example of something you could do with it. And have kind of more advanced. There's several platforms. Names escaping me at the moment. I'll search for it here in a moment. It's the Jepson, I think, from NVIDIA. It is a mini cord device that's quite small form factor. I think 6 or 7 inches by 2 or 3 inches, low power, but is extremely performant. Not quite for things like Bitcoin mining, but maybe you're doing other um, kind of mathematical, number crunching things, like maybe code some sort of hash or cipher, or something like that, or maybe you're doing software defined radio, and you're doing demodulation and modulation, something on a really small, more portable form factor. I could dev and play with it on my desktop machine before deploying it on the actual physical hardware.
One thing I use it for is Audible, because as far as I know, Amazon doesn't make a Windows app for Audible, and there's no website. So the only way I can use it on my computer is through the subsystem for Android.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a great use case. It, Kindle, I guess, might be another. I read a lot of Kindle on my phone. I mean, I think you can go to like read.kindle.com or something and read it in a browser, but I could use the familiar Kindle application interface if I so desired.
Yeah, there's a Kindle app for Windows, but it's not very good in my opinion.
Yeah, and this is a native, Windows system WPF form, and I'm able to kind of see the configuration of the emulator and uninstall or just kind of see what's consuming space in the virtual machine, as well as shut it off if I want to. Here's some of the integration for kind of configuring whether or not I want the hook for Defender to fire when there's read and writes, things like that. If you are differently able, just being able to turn on things like allowing your screen reader to read the kind of child windows that are in the applications themselves. It's different little deeper integration than say some of the other alternatives. And not being a Java or Android developer, I unfortunately don't have any examples of developing or configuring the debug bridge, but it's all easily sourceable on the interwebs.
So I saw you sideloaded the Play Store there. Do the Google Play services and all that kind of stuff, does that work?
Sure does. Absolutely. Yep. If you, as I mentioned, if you kind of did a little bit of internet searching, there is a number of GitHub repos that feature a build of Windows Subsystem for Android with, with or without the App Store, or with or without either App Store, whether or not you want Magisk or whatever sort or SuperSU, whatever sort of root utility you want on there. So there are alternative because it is somewhat open source. Some people are able to take it and kind of fork it and do what they will with it. Cool. I know these are not the most exciting of slides. I'll absolutely shoot those over as soon as I drop off the call here. Any sort of links and stuff like that. I've got a few links and whatnot that I can shoot over as well.
Neat. In your use of it, I want to say this. How confusing is it to all of a sudden have a keyboard and a mouse as opposed to just having everything done by touch?
You'd be quite surprised. In like most modern Android devices, you can connect a Bluetooth keyboard or mouse to them. You could just plug them in through the USB interface in the bottom of them. I plug mine into my KVM and get used to my keyboard and mouse on it. They all natively support multiple input methods, so the IMEs can, as long as most of the operating system itself will support it natively with no issue. There's no guarantee that the application will support that as an IME, and because the IME is presented to the application, whether or not the input is touch or a point input or whatnot, they are capable of blacklisting inputs, but because this is an emulated environment, you can just as easily using ADB emulate touch input and things like that, just like you can emulate GPS and emulate Wi-Fi and all natures of it. If you're virtualizing the OS, you can, similar to say a web page, once you deliver it to my browser, I can do whatever I want with it. If I'm emulating an operating system, the same kind of applies.
Okay.
That is kind of funny now that you mention it. Like, like my like for example, I have a Samsung Android tablet, and it's got the thing where it's got Dex mode, where you can basically, if you plug it into like a USB-C dock, like you were saying, it like switches into basically Chrome OS
Yeah.
similar. And it's just funny how like people are trying to turn tablets into computers, and now trying to turn a computer into a tablet, kind of the opposite way with
Yes.
Subsystem for Android here.
Yeah, can't we find one device to rule them all? I want, something. I'll get some sort of a cerebral implant.
Yes. Or, well, this is all back from, remember Canonical, decades ago or whatever, tried to do like the whole, convergence thing, that was a big buzzword long time ago. And so really, I mean, this idea has been around so long, just so many different angles to come at it from.
Yeah, they were. I remember what they're trying to build. It was Ubuntu for Android, and yeah, I remember reading about that.
Yeah, they had an Ubuntu phone, like they had their own OS, like phone OS for a few years. I don't think it ever really got off the ground, but yeah.
Kind of similar to my previous question. What about the hardware that ain't there? For instance, when you're on your phone, there's the GPS access. There's some sensitivity to what tower you're on. Is that ever caused problems, or is that just something that, okay, if you're going to be using that kind of stuff, you have to make an effort to cover for it, or there's some built-in fixes that take care of the cell phone specific hardware capabilities?
Yeah, so what you're looking at is it's kind of what you would like to do with it. The ADB and the debug bridge allows you to create and emulate a variety of hardware. Uh, Again, if you're a deeply technical developer, you could. There's nothing that you couldn't manipulate other than what's really in that runs in the kernel portion of it. I'm not 100% on the kernel driver stuff that you would be able to manipulate that, seeing as that it's signed. But any of the other Android components, you should be able to, and especially if you're leveraging anything that's a boilerplate API off of ADB, you should have no issues. Now, how the application will handle you changing, GPS signal, over drastic distances or something on those lines. No, I don't know. Um, but similar to Android, you can install, Termux or some sort of terminal emulation application and get a shell on your Android device. You can do port forwarding and have kind of if you wanted to, a more featured Android installation.
Okay. Okay. Is there much crossover from the Windows subsystem for Linux to Windows subsystem for Android? Or are there any?
Yeah, there's a stub or kind of a connector, and you can do. I mean, some of the obviously the virtualization technology and things like that are similar. They're using a container that runs on top of the Windows kernel to do the translation layer and that sort of jazz. So that the technologies are similar. Cool. If there's not any more questions, I'll go ahead and turn it back over. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
This is really really interesting. This and the last time you were here opened our eyes to some new possibilities, and kind of neat to see how things come together.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Absolutely. We'll have to chat a little bit and see if there's any other topics of interest in the future. Feel free to shoot some things over.
I gotta ask what could be the secret X project. So, golly gee, so you managed to put together a subsystem for Linux, a subsystem for Android. Is there going to be a subsystem for iPhone?
I have no idea. Yeah, I'm unfortunately in the sales arm, so engineering is quite distant. I don't get a ton of play from them unless it's in the security or infrastructure space, which is where I tend to play. Well, awesome. I hope you guys
Once
have a
again,
fantastic
thank
evening.
you very, very much. It's amazing that when you suggested the need to drop back a month and rather than do it in September and October, but move to November. Little did I realize that you were doing this as a strategic thing, just to be here for the birthday, the 16th birthday of Android. Wow.
Yes, it was a long play. Well, Cindy, thank you guys. You have a good night. I'm gonna head off here.
Great. Thanks,
All right,
John.
thanks a lot.
And by the way, I was one of the guys who was down in your office there back in August. So.
Okay. All right. Come on down. You guys should. We've been getting quite a few folks in for in-person events, so maybe in the future we could talk about something like that.
Fantastic.
Fantastic is right.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Bye,
John.
everybody.
Thanks
Good night.
again.
Oh, by the way, I've got one more announcement. Next week on Thursday, our speaker is going to be talking about transport layer security. So mark that on your calendar. If you want to see the, let me see if I can bring this up real fast. Stand by. I've only put the abstract out on the all-day schedule for next Thursday. I haven't done the one actually at 6 in the evening yet. So let's see. This thing is giving me fits. Can you pull up Thursday?
Give me a second.
Stan, are you in a convenient place to pull up the calendar and look at Thursday?
Let me try. Boom. Boom. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
So if you
mine looks better. It's black.
there
Dark
we go.
background.
There we go.
That white stuff burns my eyes.
Okay. Okay, and I didn't hit send yet. Okay, now it should be sent.
Do your best work in the dark, do you, Lee?
That's the only way to work.
Do a refresh on that calendar.
What the hell? Oh, okay. Bleh.
Yeah, the red one's there.
Oh, yeah, that's the one you want.
First one.
There we go. No, not that. Next Thursday. There we go. Okay. I guess Stan, you're sharing your screen?
Yes.
Okay. So there it is. Next Thursday, transport layer security, TLS. It's based on the book. And so it sounds like a good technical explanation of just what's going on with the security at that level of the internet. So could be some really interesting stuff. I'll say read up in advance, and this should be a guy we can pepper with a lot of good technical questions. Michael Lucas is his name.
He's got a long history of open source. Yeah. Absolute open BSD. Heck, that's 20 years old. First edition.
And he's brought to us by Jonathan Drews. Thanks to Jonathan. He
Fantastic.
pointed him to us. or us to him, whichever way you want to look at it. And anyone out there in the audience, if you have inclination to line somebody up for us to have a presentation, we'd appreciate it, because we're running out of Gary clones.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that Michael Lucas is the founder of SemiBook, but don't quote me on that.
Oh, okay.
Did I stop sharing my screen now?
Stan has now scrolled down into the bio and showed you some of Michael Lucas's other accomplishments there. So, okay, while Stan scrolls that down a little, maybe not. But anybody have any other comments about tonight's talk? Questions about tonight's talk? Questions about the state of Microsoft emulating all this stuff?
I wonder it'd work if you're running Windows 11 in a VM.
Well, there's an interesting
Question. There you go.
I think to ask it.
Yeah.
That way you wouldn't have to put Windows on your hardware.
Yeah.
You in VMs you can set there's a hardware flag that you can toggle to turn on, like an emulation connection to the. I think your BIOS always has to have an emulation flag set. I forget what it's called, but then the most virtualization things, being VMware and VirtualBox that I'm familiar with, you can set a flag somewhere in the like in the BIOS of the VM that passes that hardware bit through to the VM. But basically, I think it might work. That's a long-winded way of saying it, but you have to kind of snoop around for those flags, because I've had virtualization things where I was trying to. It comes out like if you're running things like Podman in a virtual machine, that it needs kind of some hardware access.
The more
need to make
interesting
sure
question might be: will Windows 11 run in a VM that's not on Hyper-V? Is anybody there yet?
Yeah, I haven't tried that.
I've tried it. It worked.
It does? Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Tyler's voice works too.
Good.
Well, you know, when you then call in via the phone line, then you're not pushing data. Hey, Lee, I got a question for you.
Shoot.
What do I need to do to get a copy of the website turned up and sent my way?
You mean the Slug site?
Yeah.
Just run a tarball of it. I can do it for you if you want. You want which one do you want? Slug?
All of them, if you can just give it, if it's easy enough. I was going to start playing with something. If I'm going to do it, I might as well work on the Slug website.
Oh, great.
I tell you what, before you start playing with it, can we go through and at least set up a repository so that we can, transfer commits back and forth without mucking it up?
That's fine.
Okay.
I just trying to understand what it's going to take to tweak with that or deal with that data and how this framework that I was looking at behaves.
Okay.
I'll play off of that. In a couple of our previous evenings meetings here, we've talked about our server. It's a virtual machine. It's the machine that hosts all of our mailing lists, hosts our web page, and embarrassingly enough, we are a couple of releases back on our operating system. One of the holdups on why we just haven't been rolling forward is the mailman list server. So we have to make sure that we've caught up on all of the ins and outs of updating that before we update the operating system. So there's a little bit of, this is one of those things, the difference between when you're just taking care of your box at home versus if you're working for a small company or a large corporation. And you got to worry about the multi-user aspects of when you do an upgrade. So so anyway, we are planning on doing that, and we really appreciate if anybody wants to be part of the team that would go through and rather than doing it at these meetings, we want to kind of do it, a little work group whenever people have time to look at the different aspects of what we want to upgrade and what order and how we do it. And then we will try and have that work group come back and kind of report in one of these meetings, to everybody as an audience of, okay, this is what we're going to do for an upgrade. And but yeah, we need some worker bees. It would be nice if a few folks wanted to join the party, so to speak, and work on that project. So you can either jump up now and say, yeah, me, I want to do it. Or you can think about it a little bit, and you can either contact me or Lee or Stan or somebody and let us know you want to be part of the team doing that. And we'd appreciate it.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I've last time you brought that up, I volunteered, and I've actually been looking into that a little bit. So if you want to discuss it, I have some information I could share. Of course, I looked it up during last month's meeting, so all my information's a month old, and I might have forgot half of it, but
Sure, share some. It'll give people some idea of what we're up against.
Well, first of all, I think we're on remind me, Lee, what version of Debian are we on right now? 10, right?
Right, we're on 10 right now.
And 10 is actually supported, I think, well into 2024. So at least that's what I saw. So it's not like we're up necessarily against the gun here. We have plenty of runway, I would say. I mean, I guess
Well, yeah, the biggest issue is 10 to 11 is not catastrophic because we can still support Mailman 2 and on 11, but 11 to 12 is because Mailman 2 goes away.
Right, and yeah, it goes away, and then and that's because the Python 2 packages go away, right?
Right.
So then there's like a choice you can make where you can either find some other way to put Python 2 on your box, but it's not really supported, so it's probably not great to run that, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or upgrade to Mailman 3. But from what I'm seeing, Mailman 2 to 3 is a very big transition because I think it was like a complete rewrite of the application and like complete re-architecture too. Because I think Mailman 3, and I don't know if Tyler's still on, but I think Mailman 3 is written in Django. And I know Tyler went to Django Con, and that's what he said he was going to do. And so maybe we we get him to Django us up here a little bit.
Yeah, the 2-3 schism was because they completely rewrote parts of this code base. So we're just needing to figure out how to migrate to Mailman 3. Well, Lee, if there's a backup you can tar up and send my way, I'll see if I can blow it up a couple times in my own environment.
Well, either that, or if we wanted to, I can just spool up a VM with a Bach backup. We may have some DNS issues, but we can just run a VM and play with it.
Looks like you have somebody else in the party.
All right.
All right.
Are you guys both on sysadmin?
No, I'm not.
I am, but as soon as this upgrade's over, I'm dropping it. I don't like email. This is just me. But one thing I was thinking too, Mailman 3, I was reading through the docs for Mailman 3, And there is, I don't know if it's an official Docker container, but it is a Docker container linked to from the official docs, which makes me think it's at least somewhat official. And so what we could do is we could like keep Debian 10, right? But then just spin up the Mailman 3 Docker images and migrate Mailman to Docker, or to the Dockerized version of Mailman 3 on Debian 10, right? And then once we do that, then that provides an abstraction layer on top of the OS. We can upgrade the OS probably all the way to 12 if we wanted, So that's another strategy I was thinking for the Mailman 3 migration. But so
Okay.
anyway, that's as far as my research got me last month during the meeting.
Yeah, then you could harvest all your configuration from that container.
Yeah, that would make a decent way to check out Mailman 3, although I'm not sure we want to do that on Bach because we may run into a lot of problems trying to test it. If we set it up on let's see. No, I guess we could set it up with a separate host name or something like that, just so we can test it without breaking our production mail list.
Let me
Yeah,
see
and that's
if I
part
can
of
get my compute server up and running this week. That would give us some extra memory and play on my gigabit connection at home.
Oh, okay.
and that's part of the problem too, is that like the Mailman docs assume you have like an MTA like up and running, which I don't even remember what that is. And so that's why I thought if we upgrade Mailman in place from Mailman 2 on the host to Mailman 3 in Docker, we could use the existing MTAs or whatever all that stuff is, all like the existing surrounding environment might be handy. But then again, maybe somebody else knows more about this MTA stuff than I do, because I know nothing.
Well,
So.
MTA is just we use postfix most of the time, and that's just a mail transfer application or mail transfer agent that is responsible for sending an incoming mail to its destination, as opposed to an MUA, mail user agent, which is most people use a mail client on whatever computer they have, whether it's Thunderbird's real popular. If you're in a corporate world, it might be Outlook. Those are the two biggies. Postfix is the MTA that I like because it's easiest to configure, but a lot of pre-built systems use XM. And my only problem with XM is I've never taken the time to learn how to configure the darn thing. And every time I try to change the configuration, I break it. Does that help, Sean?
Yeah, it's bringing back some memory. I did fiddle with postfix. I think I did successfully get it running one time, but I wouldn't call it a fun experience. But yeah.
Well, it's actually not that hard if you start with a working config. And of course, that's another thing we need to check. Postfix admin. I wonder if that is. We actually use a GUI to admin the email system.
We do?
Yes, called postfix admin.
Oh, okay. That's what all those funny pictures are. Okay.
It looks like it's going to be around. I see notes here on Debian 12 postfix admin. Well, I tell you what, since nobody knows anything about it, maybe I ought to take a minute and show it and show what it looks like.
No, Lee, we can't do that. These people haven't paid the ticket to see that tonight. Oh, okay, Lee, if you're gonna force it to I guess we'll give them a freebie here.
Okay, where is my window? There it
How
is.
did my question still is how did Bach end up on Debian if you're such a lizard over there, Lee?
I didn't build it.
Okay.
And to some arguments, Debian is a little more stable as a server because it doesn't track bleeding edge. You know, all of the Debian releases are pretty much stable. And besides, Debian was built long before I even started teaching my SUSE classes back in the network days. And the other reason being some of our talent is not prone or leaning towards switching distros. So I'm not going to complain because some of those folks been around longer than I have, and they've done a lot for the organization, and I would not want to cause them problems. Anyway, what you see on the screen here is postfix admin. Is a PHP GUI to a postfix email server. You log in and you have a login screen. You can create admin users. Here's all the domains you have configured. We only actually have one, sloop.org. Everybody else forwards to it. And virtual list is where you do most of your work, or at least I do. We've only got one domain. So you search for a mailbox, LVL. You scroll down, and here it is. So that mailbox is, this is the configure. This is how you change a password. Name, quota 0 for unlimited. Other email, which is where it would send a message if you say forgot password, but we don't use that. What else? Aliases. We've got a lot of aliases. Use the aliases here. It works pretty good. I actually use it also on for Omnitech. Some of the stuff I've never even looked at. Send mail or send an email just for a test. Change your password. View mail logs. Or view the admin operations. Yeah, I've been using it for 4 or 5 years now, and it works. And it's a lot easier than mucking around with text files like access and stuff like that.
This is Stan. I hate to ask, but when do we want to stop the recording?
I'd say keep going.
I think you're right.
I have a question about recording.
Okay.
Stan,
What?
when do you think that this presentation will be up online?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes from now? Did you say that?
That's what I said, but I lie a lot. You know that?
But by
It sh-
tomorrow anyway,
It'll
right?
be up by tomorrow, yeah. Well, that depends when Zoom processes it, gets it processed. Sometimes they process it within 20 minutes. Sometimes it's not till the following day. It just depends.
Well, now realize, Stan, they usually process it in 10 or 15 minutes. The question is when I forward the email to you.
That's true. You mean you manually forward that to me?
Yeah.
Wow.
So sometimes I'm still here to forward it tonight. Other times I do it in the morning.
Okay. All right.
But
Um,
in 15 minutes, you can go out there in the recording section and find it.
okay.
I mean, you don't have to wait for the email to get there.
Oh, I thought you had automated that forwarded thing to me. You know, I mean, rather than manually doing it.
No.
Okay. Well, it's learn something new every day. So I'll look for it, and if I see it before midnight, I'll probably get it out there. Do you want me to send you a note when it's out there, Ed?
You can, or is it a link going to be on the webpage?
It'll be on that presentation archive page.
Presentation archive webpage. Okay, great. No, I was gonna post it on Mastodon if that's okay with you guys.
It'd be great.
You might not know this, but a number, well, not a big number, but there are posts on the Twit network, This Week in Tech network with Leo Laporte et al.
Yeah.
Who follow me on Mastodon, and also other of our people like Scott Granneman and stuff. So if I post it and maybe Scott reposts it or something like that, I thought maybe it'd be kind of an interesting topic because they're always talking about Windows Subsystem for Linux and Windows Subsystem for Android. And, if they, no, so far, I don't think they've ever had a Microsoft guy talk about them.
Yeah.
So, kind of an interesting take on things.
Link to that site, Jeff.
Say again, John?
I said, please share a link to that site in the chat.
Can I share a link to what? Oh, you want Stan to share the link.
I can. What do you mean?
Well,
What?
I thought he was talking about a site.
Which site?
Oh, I think. Oh, you might have. Yeah, I was going to post it on Mastodon, which is a social networking site like Twitter.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to follow me on Mastodon, it's at edhowland@fossadon.org. I can put that in the chat.
Oh.
But you have to sign up for Mastodon.
I looked at Mastodon, and it's yet another rabbit hole I don't want to go down because I'd be knee deep in that. I'd spend half a day on Wikipedia, another half a day on YouTube, and the other half a day on Mastodon. I think I got a problem there.
This is what begets that phrase: the faster I go, the behinder I get.
Yeah.
I could do a presentation on that sometime. The faster I go, the behinder I get.
Well, Steve, I'll put that on the planning schedule. Would you want to do it on a Thursday or a Wednesday preference?
Why don't I aim for Wednesday and I'll hit Thursday maybe?
Okay.
That's the way it usually goes around here.
Yeah.
Hey, Ed Howland.
Ed is still here.
The posting you put out there was your name at fustodon.org. You really want Fustodon, or did something get fat fingered?
Did I probably fat fingered it? Yeah, it's FOSSTODON.org. What did I type? FOS or FOOS?
You got FOOSTODON.org.
Yeah, there's a missing S in there. Sorry.
A missing F?
Yeah. No, S is in Sierra.
Post it again. Post it again.
All right.
Post it again.
Just close the chat then. Just give me a second. I'm sorry, guys. I'm blind.
I just never heard Mastodon referred to as Fustodon before.
Well, that's just another server.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just the server. It's like a mail server, right? Okay. All right, here we go. I'll try it again.
So Ed, you're still on New Shell, huh? Are they paying you over there yet?
Okay. Does that one look better?
Fostodon, FOSS.
Yes, that stands for the free and open source version of Mastodon.
Oh, okay.
Is Mastodon not open source?
Of course it is, but there's different interest groups. You know, you might be into knitting or something, right? Or you might be into I don't know role playing games, right? So there's there's different servers for different things, different strokes for different folks.
Fostodon, okay.
Mastodon is one of the bigger ones. It's a lot of developers are on there.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
I got
think,
in.
Didn't we have
we
a
did
Mastodon
talk-
presentation?
We had a Mastodon with Scott Granneman gave a Mastodon presentation at I think it was the main. It's either the state Linux meeting or the main meeting several months back, and he mentioned a bunch of different servers, and Mastodon was one of them.
Looks like it's invite only nowadays.
Mastodon?
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Huh. They've been dealing with DDoS attacks and spam bots and shit. But then I guess the bigger you are, the bigger the target you are.
Yeah.
I guess I got in under the wire. Guess they wouldn't have invited me. I'm telling you that right now.
Ed, you had mentioned earlier the New Shell talk on November the 21st.
Yes, sir.
If you can throw into chat what a URL to look at to find that, I'll put it on
Do
to
you, want the? I don't have the
We've
URL.
already got it there, Gary.
We do?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean on the calendar?
Yeah, I'm looking at the calendar now, Stan, and I don't see it.
I thought I put it up there, but then I'm not sure what I had for breakfast.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I don't have a URL for it. I always rely on Jonathan for those sorts of things. I mean, to this day, I don't even know if they have a website. Do they have a website?
Yeah, they got a website, but he winds up doing different Jitsi names for the meetings.
Right.
All
Yeah,
over the
he does that because you know, you get bad actors in there. So yeah, I won't have the link until a couple of, maybe a day or two before the actual meeting. And I can send that over to you. But Jonathan usually sends it too.
Just throw it up on post it up on discuss, and if we see it, Gary or I will put it up in the calendar.
Right. Well, I keep telling him to send it to editor@slug.org as an email as well.
I keep telling him just send it to discuss, so everybody sees it.
Okay,
that way,
that'll work.
That
too.
way, if I'm asleep,
No, I was just saying, send it jointly to editor in order to get it on the calendar.
Well, if I'm asleep at the switch, everybody will see it.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I don't have any URLs or anything.
Well, I mean,
I can give you a URL to the New Shell site.
Well, the
I believe it's semi-bug.org.
Is it?
I think it is. The website.
Sorry, Gary, what did you say?
Oh, I was just trying to say that it's two different issues, whether or not to have the URL for the Zoom or the Jitsi. Right now, I'm just looking to put an abstract out there so people go, "Ooh, I want to go to that meeting." Reserve their time.
Okay. That's a really good idea. I'll get the abstract together and run it by Jonathan tomorrow, and so I'll email it up to you guys
Okay.
tomorrow. Okay. I got
Excellent.
all day tomorrow to work on it until I meet with Stan in the evening.
Ed, I suggest you do that abstract as soon as possible and send it to him.
I will do so. I will do it in the morning.
And as soon as the sun comes up.
Well, I'm always up. Well, after the time change, I don't know exactly. I can't figure out what time I'm actually up. I get up at the same time.
That was a joke, Ed. That was a joke.
No, I do, but I get up at like 6 a.m. or sometimes earlier, but I don't know what time that is anymore. I got kind of confused. I guess that means that I'm getting up at 5. Is that right?
I don't know. I haven't
Or
figured
am I
it out
getting up
this
at
last
7 or something? I can't remember now.
It's been 3 days now, and I haven't figured out what the hell's going on. All I know is it gets darker before my stomach tells me it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, it's darker at night. No, I'll do it tomorrow. I totally slipped my mind to do an abstract on it. I've got there was a bit of it in the slides that I sent you, right? Just the first slide there.
Oh, you don't want me to
Basically,
create
I'm
an
going to
abstract.
abstract that, that first slide into an abstract.
I get real creative when I do an abstract for somebody that doesn't cooperate with us.
Would you ever do that?
Remember that slide that said arbitrary and cranky? Yeah.
You could have just said old. It would have taken care of it.
Old's on that slide too.
I know.
I was born arbitrary and cranky, and I've been getting mellower as I age.
That's what you think. Matter of perspective, Gary. And what angle you're coming from. And who's observing you.
Is it
and just because you're paranoid doesn't mean I'm not out to get you.
So when you said observing him, does that mean that he's Schrodinger's Gary? Is that what we're saying about
There
him?
we go.
I'm sorry, I
Alive,
wasn't
one minute.
paying attention.
Schrodinger's cat, Schrodinger's Gary. Sorry, physics joke. Have you guys heard the physics joke with Heisenberg?
I might have, but I'm uncertain.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's a good one. That's
bad.
good.
That's bad.
Yeah. So anyway, Heisenberg got this like fast car. He's going down the road, and all of a sudden he looks at his rearview mirror, and the blue lights are flashing, and cops pulls him over, and he comes up to the window, and he says, when it rolls the window down, he says, "Oh, Dr. Heisenberg, I see. Do you know how fast you were going?" And Heisenberg goes, "No, but I know where I'm at." Again, you got to really know the quantum physics for that.
Well, I was shocked. I was actually in a courtroom one time where the person who had gotten a speeding ticket, no, he'd gotten a traffic light ticket, and so he explained to the judge that there was a relativistic effect, and so the light may have been red, but it didn't look like it to him because he was moving. And the judge very quickly thought for a second, said, okay, so we'll just change the charge to speeding and the necessary speed to do that frequency of light shift. You owe a few $1,000s in fines.
Whoa.
That really happened?
Yep. Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. But you'd have to be going about the speed of light to miss that red photon hitting you.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody really say that, Gary? I mean, really?
Yeah.
God.
I figured he wasn't being real nasty about it. And the judge took it well, so maybe maybe there was a little insider chuckle there. I don't know.
Maybe that was his 12th time before that judge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
And they were trying to one up each other. Yeah.
Repeat offender. Yeah. I got another one for you too. This is the one about the farmer, right? And he's a dairy farmer. He's having problems with his cows. He's milking his cows, and they're just not producing. They're just not giving the right kind of output.
Mhm.
So he decides that he's going to hire some consultants to come in and sort of help him out with this, whatever, right? So first person he hires is an engineer. Engineer comes in, and the second person he hires is an interior designer, and the third person he hires is a physicist. You can probably see where we're going with this. So first thing the engineer says, you know what your problem is? The milk flow, the flow in the pipes are too narrow. And so the flow is just not, you don't have the right flow, right? You have to have better pipes, right? So, and the interior designer comes along and says, no, that's not the issue. The issue is the cows really need a warm, comfortable place where they can feel safe and secure, and we have to have like pastel colors on the wall and classical music playing, and we it's a thing about bovine psychology, right? Got to make them feel good, right? And so then the physicist comes over and he brings up a blackboard and he says, draws a big circle on the blackboard and he says, let's consider the cow. That's the end of the joke. Yeah, the basic point is that physicists always try to reduce everything to its very base component parts.
Okay.
Okay.
Now
You say so.
don't blame me on that. That was a Lawrence Krauss joke. I guess it didn't really win the crowd there.
You gotta see it. You gotta be there.
You had to be there, yeah.
Wow. I move we adjourn the meeting.
I think that probably is apropos, unless anyone has anything else to bring up, discuss, change the topic. Hearing none, I'll take that as a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
So move.
All in favor signify by the reponent. All in favor signify by usual sign. Reponents no. The ayes have got it. We are adjourned. For the sake of the recording, this was the general meeting of the St. Louis Linux Unix Users Group. It is Wednesday, the 8th of November, 2023. Thank you all for coming. Oh, tonight's speaker was John Newbolt from Microsoft. He spoke on the topic of Windows Subsystem for Android. And our tutorialist tonight was Stan Reichardt, who told us all about oh, I'm off script. No, there was a script that would that would make a nice, perfect copy of everything that you did, and everything put it on your keyboard in a terminal session, and you could either play it back with its results that came in, or you could run it live and rerun the commands over and over again. So, so that was Stan's talk tonight. With that, thank you all for coming, and good night.